Greetings, Rocky Mountain Synod. I'm Pastor Jason Chestnut. I live and work in Baltimore, Maryland, part of the Delaware, Maryland Synod. Very glad to be with all of you for this unique Synod assembly. And speaking with Aaron, we wanted to have this time be both pre-recorded and a time for live engagement. And so I wanted to do something pre-recorded here and talk a little bit about what it means to follow Jesus in the 21st century. We've been talking about this for a while, some of us in digital spaces since like the 90s, but in the last few months / what's felt like years, things have changed, right? So I want to talk about how digital ministry we are in a unique place and time right now to engage with that. So get to a space, kind of like carve out a little space for this. Sort of like, think of it as like digital consecration. Put on some headphones, kind of, engage with this time right now. I want us to do that both through meditation and also videos. So just like when I'm normally talking face-to-face, I'm going to populate this with a lot of videos that I hope make my point and that we can talk about later. Also, I'm just not going to be on Zoom the entire time because my Wi-Fi sucks and I'm constantly talking, getting cut off, and not wanting to talk anymore. So to get through that, I offer up this video. I wonder if we can take a second and engage with, I've been spending a lot of time with the cello suites from Bach, only because I think it connects with this larger point of, in this new digital age, we still have pieces from our history that we don't want to let go of. We have to figure out a balance between the time before and the time after, or really throughout this entire digital age that we are still in the process of morphing into, right? But now we're in the 2020s, and as we know, this year did not waste any time in showing us what it was about. So if we can start with hearing just a little bit of Yo-Yo Ma playing the second cello suite, the one in D minor. Not as well known, but we live in a D minor world. Can I get an amen? I think it's helpful to remember that our digital world didn't start on March 11th, 2020, that some of us have been doing this work for a very long time. I want us to see one of these pieces from almost a decade ago from Eric Whitaker, who brought together people from all over the world to sing a composition of his. And in his words, the people were alone, but together. I think it's a unique window into what digital ministry can be, especially when it comes to the ideas of presence. Our world has been changing at an accelerating rate for a while, but it does seem more intense in these last few months, these last few weeks, right? I want us to not lose heart that there have been, even as we feel like we might be parachuting or more likely skydiving with or without a parachute, we are engaging in this new digital world. And there are examples we can use that I think can inspire and can help guide the way towards new digital ministry in the future. The two examples I have, one is Slate Speak, which is a real-time conversation that happens on Twitter every Thursday night for an hour. We have people come in, moderate topics. We set it up sort of like a worship service with prayers and sort of like the passing of the peace. And this has been going on since 2014, every week. It connects to two things I think are really important when it comes to digital ministry: creativity and consistency. So creative content is important, but also just be consistent. Every Thursday night, Thanksgiving, Christmas, doesn't matter, we engage in Slate Speak. And what I love about it is it's a legitimately diverse place within progressive Christianity. And I think some of that is because of the way that we've empowered others to take ownership of it. The second one is from Pastor Tamika Youngsevich, who does kind of what Yo-Yo Ma does with Bach suites in terms of Pastor Tamika is engaging in an ancient form of biblical storytelling. And then I filmed her and tried to translate that in a 21st century context. In the words of the Reverend Dr. Phil Ruggie-Jones, it's kind of like digital intertextuality. So here, the Reverend Youngsevich did her own translation of this text as well, and then learned it by heart and told it. One of the more ancient spiritual disciplines. Let's see how it translates into the 21st century.
Jesus entered into Jericho and was passing through it. Now, pay attention. There was a man called by the name of Zacchaeus, chief tax collector, and he was rich. Now, Zacchaeus was seeking to see who Jesus is, but he couldn't from the crowd because, well, he was too short.
You have no integrity, no decency, and you're really, really short.
So he ran ahead of the crowd and climbed into a sycamore fig tree in order to see Jesus. When Jesus came to the place, he looked up and he said to him, "Zacchaeus, come down quickly. Today, I must stay at your house." And Zacchaeus, y'all, he came down quickly.
Me! Oh, I know, me!
And he welcomed Jesus with great joy. But when the crowd saw this, they were grumbling. He has gone to be a guest at the house of a sinful man. But Zacchaeus stood and he said to the Lord, "Look, half of my possessions, Lord, I now give to the poor. And if I have cheated anyone of anything, I pay it back 4 times the amount." And Jesus said to him, "Today, salvation has come to this house. For he too is a son of Abraham. The son of humanity has come to seek and to save the lost.
If this were the 2020 that 2019 thought 2020 would be, I would just continue with kind of a TED Talk. But here I think it's important because a lot of us are now in the field, as it were, in the digital vineyard. I think it's important to give some just helpful tips, very basic when it comes to doing any kind of content, specifically video content, which has always been important, but specifically in the last decade, and I think now even more, it's very important. Have a tripod. If your computer is not sitting on a desk, you might think that you can prop up your phone, which can give good footage, but you need a tripod for that phone. Stability is key. You can't just put it up on a desk or a table or your bed. Get a tripod. The second is to have some sort of lighting source. As you can see, there's actually lighting coming in from here because I want to remember that there's an actual world out there and the pandemic hasn't crushed up my entire soul yet. But the only way that this works, otherwise we'd have a shadow effect, right? So I have a light source right here for this. But if you don't have a light source, I know that budgets vary widely. But if we were in this situation, I would turn everything around so you make sure that the light source coming in, take advantage of that. Get in front of that. You don't have to be professionals in this kind of work. I think it's much better that you are creative and consistent, right? So that consistency, of course, we're in this new time, I would encourage us to think about it more in the terms of a marathon, not a sprint. But I think it's helpful to create good content. We have all seen good content that doesn't have great production value. This guy named Matt, that's what he did once. And it's an incredible video.
For the days that come to
A shout out to Drew Tucker at Friar Tuck Tweets on Twitter for writing in the Lutheran. And since this will be a lightly edited video, I do have notes here, as you can probably see. It's called 5 Ways to Prepare for Digital Worship. And Drew has some really good pieces there. I offer that, commend that to you. There are a lot of resources in this time that we can all engage with. And more is being created. I think we're going to see some amazing things come out of this time, specifically when it comes to art and creativity and ministry. Now it's the time for us to get up and dance a little bit. I want you to mentally get up out of your seats, minimize the screen, and go on the lookout. Go on a scavenger hunt for a good video that's got good content that you've seen in the last month, maybe, that doesn't have a great production level, so it's not out of reach, but the content was so good that it just stirred you. Can you just take a minute or two and look at that? Or look for an example that you can bring to our conversation later. I'm just going to keep on vamping a little bit because fulfilling my life, like my childhood dream of being a DJ, radio DJ. I definitely have the face for radio, as you can see. So go look for those links. Find a video that isn't the greatest production value, again, but it's something that the content was so good that it caught you. Finally, I think there's a biblical story. So in the same way that Pastor Tamika told, I want to tell one that I think has a unique thing, has a word to say to us in this time of digital ministry. Namely, that Jesus expands the notion of presence beyond in the flesh or face-to-face interaction, which, as we know, is very, very hard to come by right now. But in that expansion, I think we get a word for our digital landscape today. The story comes from Luke's Gospel. That same day, 2 disciples were on their way to Emmaus, about 7 miles from Jerusalem. And they were talking with each other on the road about all the things that had happened. Then Jesus appeared on the road and joined them on their journey, but their eyes were kept from recognizing him. Jesus said to him, "What are y'all talking about?" And they stood still, looking sad. Then one of them, whose name was Cleopas, answered him, Are you the only visitor in Jerusalem who is unaware of the things that have taken place the last few days? And Jesus said, "What things?" And he said, "The things about Jesus of Nazareth." Because of his powerful words and deeds, he was recognized by God and the people as a prophet. But our religious leaders handed him over to be sentenced to death, and Rome crucified him. But we had hoped that he would be the one to redeem us, Israel. Anyways, all these things happened 3 days ago. But there's more. Some women from our group have left us stunned. They went to the tomb early this morning and they didn't find his body. And they came reporting that a group of angels had appeared to them, saying to them, "He is alive." Then some of us, men, went to the tomb and found it just as the women had said. Duh! They didn't see him. And Jesus said, You foolish people. Your dull minds keep you from believing all that the prophets talked about. Wasn't it necessary for the Christ to to suffer these things and then enter into his glory? Then he interpreted for them the things written about himself in all the scriptures, beginning with Moses and going through all the prophets. And they came to Emmaus, and Jesus acted as if he were going on ahead, but they urged him, saying, No, stay with us. It's almost evening. The day is almost over. So Jesus went in and stayed with them. And after he had taken his seat at the table with them, he took bread. He broke it. He gave it to them. Then their eyes were opened and they recognized him, and he disappeared from their sight. They said to one another, weren't our hearts on fire when he spoke to us on the road, when he was opening the scriptures to us? Well, they got up right then and returned to Jerusalem. They found the 11 with their companions. They were saying, the Lord really has risen. He's appeared to Simon. And the two disciples described what had happened to them on the road, how Jesus had made himself known in the breaking of the bread. This story, of course, is one of our Easter stories, and we are in the season of Easter, although, as my fellow pastor Tim Brown says, this last Sunday was the sixth Sunday of the quarantine, like a new kind of liturgical season. I think this story helps us see that when Jesus expands the notion of presence, all of a sudden we don't have to be in the same place. It's preferable, but we don't have to be in the same place to experience holy presence. We can do this online. So I hope this story and this time is hopefully engaging your theological imagination. And I look forward to talking with you in just a few moments.